Joel went here. I've been watching and reading about George W. Bush on the news, and I got a vent. I got a vent at him. I got a vent at the media, which, for the most part, at least the people that he's being allowed to, if you think about it, this whole thing is being staged managed. He's only talking in public to people that aren't going to say anything to him really disturbing. And I think one of the things that this reveals is something we always knew, which is how calculated such processes are, how much it is, shall we say, stage managed from the beginning to the end. And then some of these people have got to ask him a few sort of hard questions, but you really look at the questions and they're about as, I don't know, they're all really softballs. And the interesting thing is he can't even answer these, I mean, I hate the guy. I've never hated anybody as much as I hate George W. Bush. And Dick Cheney and Rumsfeld and Karl Rove and that whole gang. And I don't particularly like hating anybody. When I know there's all these moral reasons why I should just love them and turn the other cheek and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, but, I hate him. George W. Bush, you're a coward. You're self-serving. You're a narcissist. You don't really care about anybody but yourself. And you're weak in all the horrible ways a human being can be weak. You and your friends ruined this country. And a lot of people think you are great. And I'm sorry to the people who think you are great that might run into this. You don't know anything either. You don't know what this country is about, why it exists, what it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to do, what it's supposed to accomplish. This country is about the highest in the human being. This country is about creating a public life in which the highest in the human being can flourish. I hate to use that word, though, because a guy by the name of Sam Harris is using it in obnoxious ways. But anyway, George, you and your cohorts, you ruined the National Guard, you ruined the economy, you ruined the country, and you ruined the world. Of course, you keep good company in a way. I mean, I don't have good things to say about Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. I know a lot of Democrats love them. I think you're all crazy. Bill Clinton helped ruin this country. And Obama, he's not doing anything to help it. The whole idea that our electoral processes deliver to us people of any kind of stature who have the capacity to do anything really good for this country or for the world is a delusion. If you really look at what's actually been and is being accomplished in our public life, you would have to say more or less nothing. We've had the healthcare crisis for 60 years, and the same bullshit is being argued again and again and again and again. And why people buy it? I don't know. I guess they just like to be asleep. It's too much trouble to actually think about what goes on in our public life. So instead of thinking, what do we get? We get platitudes. Hope and change. Less taxes. The whole place is crazy. Now what happens when that happens? Well, bad shit happens. The world is going in the toilet. The United States is going in the toilet. And the reason this is happening is because people are just too effing lazy to really think about what's going on in the world. And there are smart people doing this. I admire a lot of what Peggy Noonan writes, for example. She used to be a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. She thinks his shit doesn't stink, you know. But he was just another succession of presidents who didn't bother to actually understand the world in which they lived. And of course, people like that, they're surrounded by other people who don't want to understand the world in which they live. I'm angry. I'm sad. Frustrated. And I don't know what to do. I watched this last election, and in a way there was some sanity, because you could tell that the American people at least were getting fed up. You know, they're getting fed up with Washington. And of course, the Republicans want to spin it like it's this big deal and everything's going to be just fine, and isn't it wonderful, and they sent us into power in Congress. And of course, that's just more lies. The only legitimate interpretation of what went on in the 2010 election is that people are tired and angry. You know, they're out there in the world trying to get along and get by and work with each other. And the only person on the planet, well, not the only person, but the only public person, is Jon Stewart, who says, you know, the American people are good at certain things, and one of them is getting along. But we are so badly led. People step to the front and they say they want to be this and that, and they're going to accomplish this and that, and they're going to be great at this and that. They got nothing to say. They got nothing worth listening to. It's all just ideological crap. Now, what do I mean by an ideology? An ideology is a point of view that the world ought to be a certain way. And so you run out into the world and you try to make it according to your ideology. The problem is the world isn't that way. It can't be made in the way your ideology wants. So we get a war on poverty, we get a war on drugs, and we get a war against the terrorism, and nothing happens because those that are ideologically driven, that is, fantasy ideas about how do you work with the real world. Well, I'm fed up. I'm going to stick my 2 bits in here. I don't know what else it's going to be like, but this is just starters, folks. Just starters.